Thank you very much for waiting. We would like to open the next presentation. The speaker is Mr. Yoshioka, and who is doing the operation of the program, and Sprout LB, and the users group Shimane, group developers group Cloud Shimane. He is the core member of those organizations and groups. Mr. Iwaishi is determining the policies for security, and he is active in educating the community on security, and he is organizing a lot of trainings. Today, they would talk about the presentation titled Rebuilding Hosting Services of Redmine as the Cloud Native. Mr. Yoshioka, Mr. Iwaishi, please. Can I start my talk? Thank you very much. I would like to talk about the cloud service of Redmine, which is reconstructed on Cloud Native. And this is a Ruby World Conference, and I wonder if you have never heard the name of Redmine. Thank you. Maybe, I don't know whether you tell the truth or not, but anyway, Redmine is an application which we are talking about, and I won't talk about the Redmine, and if you want to know the detail, please visit a booth. We have a booth of a company, so please visit the booth if you want to know more about Redmine. And I wonder if you have used Redmine in your class, because you didn't raise your hand. Now I start with my self-introduction. I am Iwaishi, Mutsumi Iwaishi of Far End Technologies Corporation. I have never imagined I could talk at this Ruby World Conference, but it is very nice to talk. We have different perspectives. As has been introduced, security management, service and development and decision-making in those fields are the responsibilities. And I have participated in Ruby for 10 years. And there is a Matsue Ruby meetings, and I have been there since the third one. I have been a member between the third and the ninth. And also, I am a member of Sign in IT Pro study group and Sign C-Cert information group. I am Yoshioka. I belong to Foreign Technologies. The community I belong to is as follows. Like Iwaishi-san, I have been participating in Matsue Ruby meeting since the 4th. My favorite method is Cloud9, and I have to correct it. I said that Evo before, but Cloud9 is my favorite method. So before talking about topics, I want to introduce my company. Foreign Technologies Corporation was established in September 2008. We offer SaaS as a core business, and there are male and female workers, 50-50. We have many female workers. And open source activities are improvement of Redmine, and also we operate redmine.jp. And the Redmine SaaS contribution is another activities of ours. Today, I will make a presentation with Yoshioka-san, and Yoshioka-san is the core member of the development activities, so technology will be described by Yoshioka-san. So, Redmine hosting service is the topic, and I want to tell you the background why we rebuild the hosting services. This is my Redmine, which is a service offered by our company, and this is a Redmine hosting service. And the service provision started in September 2009. And currently we have 800 customers in Japan. And Redmine committers are in our company, and the service provision will lead to the comments from the customers, and this information has been used to develop open source programs. And more than half of the adopted patch are developed by us. This is just an information. Redmica is a new project or new application we started recently. And this is an application covering the Redmine. Redmine is it takes 1 year to update the Redmine. So when you are developing, when you are making the new development, and we are trying to incorporate the new aspects. However, the release takes time before the new version of Redmine can be released. So the trunk of the Redmine is used as stable so that we can have more frequent release or updating, and that's Redmica. And that's how you can utilize the new application faster. And we have a presentation on the first floor in the exhibition booth, so please visit our booth. So please get the detailed information on the first floor. And we are offering services, but there are some challenges for us. First of all, infrastructure is the key. There are 800 customers or subscribers. Then we have to respond to a good response to them, and we have to have a very stable operation. And one of the challenges for us is the shortage of infra engineers. However, it is not very easy to recruit many new staffs. So we have to train them. And also, when we hire new employees, we have to educate and train those new engineers. And in order to be effective, we have to have trials and errors. However, these days in this world, it is not allowed for us to have an experience of failure. So we need to have an expert who can be responsible for the operation of the services. Therefore, we have to have some expertise, and expertise of an expert should be shared by many of the engineers. And also we have to control their operating cost. In order to offer stable operations, we have to have an upgrading, and we also have to respond to emergency. And it is very important to manage and control operating cost so that we can have a better authority management. So authority management related operating cost is very important, and authority management again requires some expertise. So to solve these problems, we decided to utilize the services on the cloud. The cloud utilization is one of the things when we think, but however, there are differences in the size of the companies we are supporting. So our company tries to overcome the problem of the shortage of infrastructure engineering. We try to use the serverless architecture managed service so that we may be able to offer optimized services to our client. And here we adopted AWS. My Redmine has been offered for more than 10 years. So it is easier for us to make an business management decisions, and we can we try to prioritize the total cost before the service provision started. So Yoshioka and others started developing a new service half a year ago. Now, based upon those business background, I would like to describe our constructions or architectures, and this is what I'm going to talk about. First, the design policies. As has been discussed, we have some challenges like a shortage of infra engineers, and that's why we decided to adopt serverless architecture managed service. When I entered the company, we used the servered architecture, but now we are using the serverless architecture. And I enjoy working in my company. Anyway, the Redmine is to be used on the serverless architecture or managed service, but it is not easy. And in order to utilize the Redmine more effectively, we have to containerize the Redmines. This is where we started. And based upon that, serverless managed service is to be used. Why containerization, or why container for Redmine? This slide gives the advantage of containerization. We can eliminate the differences between the development environment and operating environment, and it is good for infrastructure as code. It has a very good compatibility with cloud service. However, we have to be careful. When we use it in operation, there are things we have to be aware of. First, there are more tasks and the objective management to build. We have more tasks to build images, and we have more objects to be managed. And managed service can absorb or can handle this area. And if we use a Docker or a container, it is very difficult to have an architecture with state architecture, and it is needed to have a permanent use of data. Therefore, we have to use scalable design as a natural course of decisions. Then we have to select services. How have we selected services in AWS? The point of selection is managed service and infrastructure as code. Managed service is briefly described here. On the left, we have EC2. Physical part is offered by AWS. Another part, like OS, middleware, application, have to be managed by the users. Fargate, Lambda, RDS, these services, application and API are managed by the users, but the rest is taken care of by AWS.
And then infrastructure as code. So it's like a secret recipe, who created what. So that kind of information was not very clear sometimes. So we have decided to manage entire infrastructure based upon code as code. There have been different approaches, but we have decided to use managed service cloud formation offered by AWS. The YAML is used to write the codes, and as I felt it's a little bit inflexible, but still perhaps it would reduce the variation when the different people write the code, so pros and cons. So that was our viewpoint to select this. The next is about a container orchestration service. So EC-less, Fargate, serverless option was selected. So host OS, securities, and Docker agent, we don't have to worry because it's serverless and quite easy to use. So now I thought about introducing our services a little bit, and then the license spent the more time we had planned. So I should go my part rather quickly. So for the details, if you go to the AWS website, you learn about the Fargate. So I will just talk about container use of Redmine. So as talked earlier, we do not have to maintain the state. So, or rather, we should not. So we have the stateless condition. And we cannot make the large changes to Redmine itself. So our hosting service is offered based upon the latest version of Redmine. So as for the Redmine's code itself, we cannot make the drastic changes. So that's the very gentle but a strong message I received when we made a decision to use a Redmine. So which type of the data should be kept stateless? So database log attached to files. I'd like to explain those one by one, starting with database. So if you have been using AWS, you don't have to listen to this explanation. RDS, Aurora PostgreSQL edition. And as for logs, if you've been using container, perhaps you've been doing this as well. We have been using sidecar pattern. So FluentD container was set up alongside with container at Redmine to share the log, and then the write to S3 and the CloudWatch logs. And as for the attached files, uploaded files, we thought about using SC to save the files. But to do this, the Redmine has a quite convenient service or function called the plugin. So you can do many things, including overwriting. So the challenge, though, was the maintenance cost for the plugin. But we have decided to use this approach based upon the overall cost. So first I tried, and then after that, I requested other people to do the maintenance work. So the far and we open the plugin information. So if you are interested, you can access and see it. So these are our approaches. So we've been using the AWS, the ECS for this, and the GKE for GCP. So NFK network the server has been used. Again, for the technical details, I'd like you to visit the booth on the ground floor. And now for the multi-tenant, because we offer the hosting service. So as for implementation, we compare the various approaches using the separating application and separating containers, but we have decided to use one container on one Docker and then set up the different sites for the processes using the different variables by using Apache and Passenger. So here's a configuration file for the database. And we put the information environment variable for the user, for each user, and for the each usage. And then the informations, the data that needs to be rewritten are written in a YAML and stored in S3. And this is a structure. So the Docker, when a container starts, and then from S3 container, the environment data are read, and then Apache configuration files are generated. For example, if there's an access from site A, and here configuration file, the environmental the variables are used. And then, based upon them, the Redmine goes to S3 bucket or RDS database to make a necessary switching. With this method, we work with about 100 sites or so, and with this much of the load, the system could run. So after these trials, we have decided to adopt this approach. And next, I'd like to talk about the infrastructure, and this is the system we ended up at the end. So again, there have been many topics related to AWS, so I will skip those details. So this is how we use the Redmines on Docker. But now I'd like to talk about some peripheral system as well. So how we process the batches based upon this the serverless system and the CI/CD. And as for the batch processes, then now Ruby joined in Lambda runtime. It's about 1 year ago. The Ruby starts to operate on Lambda, but at the same time, it was told that the COBOL also started to run. So because of the COBOL, I think the Ruby's news impact was reduced. And then the Fargate, the batch process was also possible using container, using Fargate. And as for migration, you might use the different database, and in that case, and how to do the migration is the headache. If you do all the migration for the database one by one, it's a big pain in total. So our approach is like this. So I earlier mentioned that the database information is kept in S3 for each customer. So that can be read using the Lambda, and then having this loop to start the Fargate. So the migration is done in Fargate. So one database migration or 100 database migration can be completed almost at the same time, almost for the same time. So this is the code to run Ruby on Lambda. So again, picking up all the necessary buckets, and then database name and a username, password. All these have to be obtained as well. And then environment of the container to be run. And database user passwords, they're switched, and then they are ready to go. And the containers I made, I said the migration will start when the container is started up. But you can also write a command as well. So this is where you can manipulate. So you can do many things. So you might be wondering how much the cost was. So when Fargate is running, the container will start and all the process will be done in 3 to 5 minutes. So even if you have 100, here you have the calculation. So usually the one migration is about 10 yen. So quite reasonable price. So very good example of the cloud. So I'm very happy that some people are happy. Then lastly, CI/CD. It's not very interesting talk perhaps. So Circle CI and Toralis. You might think of some topics, but this time, because we have been using the managed service of AWS, we've been using code pipeline. So for the Git repository, and then the Docker image is built, and then it was deployed in a Fargate. To update one source, and then all customers or the users' codes are updated as well. And just use a code pipeline. And to test, well, for some reasons, for certain reason, and now we are using Jenkins to run tests. But in the future, we like to embed this function into pipeline as well. So I'd like to ask Iwaichi-san to give the conclusion. Yes. So in the past, the functions were distributed amongst the multiple Linux server, and now we have shifted them to serverless full management service. And then we could establish the system with less engineer headcounts. And also we have monocyclic application called the Redmine. And without changing the source code, we could use a cloud native system as a plugin. And also as for the adoption of the CI/CD, DevOps, we can separate the developer and the admin. So that was another benefit. And now we have been offering this system to the limited customers as a beta service. And in the near future, we will have the general the launching. Thank you very much. Yoshioka-san, Maishi-san, thank you very much. So if you have any questions, so somebody in the rear of the room. Well, thank you. Now we've been using Redmine as self-hosting. So one thing I was interested was the Git repository. So in the ticket, so I've heard that the Redmine, the ticket ID is given to the Git, and then you can establish the connection. But to do that, you have to use the Rails applications where the Rails are run. I think I had once tried and was not successful because of the file system. I think the technical details haven't tried for some years. So we are still exploring this method, so I cannot guarantee the association or connection between these. So are you saying that after all that issue is still remaining? So EFS-based mount is still not possible? Maybe it may work. So if the files can be read, maybe, or maybe not. EFS are not mountable. So what were we saying? Oh, so this time we focused on the service provision. So we wanted to have the rather streamlined the service structure so it can be handed over to the future generation. Thank you very much. I'm afraid the time is up. So again, so if you have more questions, I hope you exchange your business cards and have a conversation. And also you can visit their booth on the ground floor. And by the way, Mr. Iwaishi usually provides the support as a member of the secretariat, but how about today, being a speaker yourself today? Well, I'm afraid I spoke too much today. Also, you change your clothes. So now are you going back to your secretariat seat? So thank you very much. Before starting, he has been saying that once he's finished his talk today, like everything is behind him, but don't worry, the conference has tomorrow as well. So again, please give them a big round of applause. Thank you very much.